loving friendliness meditation. And as I think we've said before, you can be really creative with these meditations. And on a retreat I once attended, it was 30 days, and the teacher offered a different loving friendliness meditation every day. So we're like we do at the gym, we're exercising and building the particular muscle of heart. And by extending friendliness to others, love or warmth, or however you want to define it, it's in those moments kind of freeing us from the gravitational pull of our ego, so to speak, that there is others in this creation that deserve care. And also, of course, the foundation of this practice is kindness, care to ourselves, which we extend when we do these practices also, and then extending that externally. So I could do the same loving friendliness meditation that I did on Saturday, or I could do a new one or make one up. So being a Dharmocracy, who would like to hear the same one again? Well, that makes it okay. Okay. Right. You can't vote then, Helen. Right. Sorry, Joe, it looks like it's going to be a new one. The one I did on Saturday is my favorite one. So, okay, well, we'll do one that's seasonal and regional. How about that? So imagine yourself on a day like today, maybe a few degrees warmer, walking on a country lane. It's not a used road, it's like an old logging road or something that meanders through the woods. Road's probably been there a couple hundred years. And so it's a gorgeous day, very slight breeze. And as you move along, you're feeling your body, feeling your muscles moving and exercising, your breathing. But it's an easy pace. Along the path, which is shaded mostly by trees, there is a dappling of sun that moves through and creates these vibrating patterns that we sometimes see around trees. So our senses are awake. We're able to smell the honeysuckle and the wild roses. The sounds of birds, insects, rich life of the forest. And walking along, we pause for a moment because crossing our little path is a box turtle. Just lumbering along, pulling hustling itself along with its little clawed feet. So we just stop to watch. And in a sense, we're able to feel into the essence of turtle a little bit. Just what that must be like. Either imagining or feeling it. And so we move along a little further, and the lane winds through the forest, and up ahead where the lane turns a little bit, we notice a doe and her fawn that must have just been born. Got bright speckles all over it. Kind of a little bit wobbly in the legs, so maybe born yesterday or very early today. And so the deer kind of paused and looked directly at us, and we stopped. It's eye to eye, and those of you that have been in the country enough, you know what that's like. You're both just there, and there's a kind of field that's created between the deer and us. And the tail's twitching a little bit in the deer, and finally they decide no danger, and they heads go down and nibbling a little grass, and the little fawn kind of stumbles up to the mama and nurses a little bit. And we're just kind of holding our position, just watching this miracle. Taking it in, feeling how it opens our heart somehow, for some reason. Just watching the deer nurse. We're feeling blessed. We're able to walk, we're outside. There's no danger. And the deer just slowly and gently walks across the path and disappears into the wood, and we continue on, feeling again the gentle breeze, listening to the songs of birds as they call to each other up in the canopy. And then we get to a path that turns off this old road, and we know the path well. We've been here a lot. It's not a surprise path or anything. And so we turn and we walk down that narrow path. And the path ascends a little bit. There's a little bit of uphill now, and we notice how our breathing is a little deeper and accelerated, and almost the taste of the oxygen the oxygenated air from all these trees as we drink it in, as we power our muscles a little bit as we walk. And so following this little trail, which meanders a little bit of a switchback here and there, we come to an open space. It's an elevated space, and it's a field, an open field, and we can look down the field into the valley. So we've come out of the woods, and there's this open field before us, and we look down into the valley a little bit, looking to our left. And now the sun hits us fully. It just feels wonderful. And we turn, as we walk into the field, we turn to the right and walk. And in the distance is a very familiar spot to us. It's our garden, and we've labored and loved that garden. It has a little fence around it, the little latch on it. And so we walk to the garden, open the latch, and just stand there and admire our handiwork. There's 3 nice rows, and this is our flower garden. And what's nice about this flower garden is that everything we like is blooming at once. You don't have to even have seasonal blooming. It's all blooming. You know, there's peonies, and there's tulips, and there's everything you can imagine. And so we're just taking some deep breaths, breathing it in. Hear the sound of the bees. The honeybees are moving. Their legs are really laden with pollen. They could barely fly. They're buzzing and moving. There's butterflies all throughout the garden. So we take that in. And so within this fenced-in area, there's a box where we store our tools and other equipment that we might want. And so we open the box, and there's some clippers, simple flower cutting clippers. And we grab them, and we also grab a blanket that's in there. And so we walk to the far end of the garden where there's a tree. It's a cherry tree, and it's in bloom. And we spread the blanket down, and then we take the clippers and we kind of move through the rows, selecting different flowers and making as aesthetic a bouquet as we can. Different shapes, different colors, different scents. And so we're clipping, and then we kind of look up, and we notice that coming up the valley is a person. Too far away for us to see, but we're very interested. And they get closer and closer. And then we notice, it's a dear friend, a loved one. So they come up to the fence. We open the gate for them, see their face, they're smiling. They're a little out of breath. They've been coming up the hill, and then we just hand them the bouquet that we just cut. And look them directly in the eye, and they just beam such that their face almost breaks. And so there we are in this field of care. Warmth between us is just intoxicating. And so we motion them, come in. So they walk in, and without speaking, we walk the rows, and we look at the flowers together. They pause here and pause there to bend over and smell the flowers. And as you're with your loved one, you're just feeling their presence. You're totally awake. Your senses are alive and active both externally and internally. You're feeling the joy. And you're taking those moments when joy arrives to just feel it. Feel how it affects and kind of buoys the body, enlivens it, gladdens it. And so you're totally enjoying this experience, and so is your dear one. And so you guide them over to the blanket, and you sit down under that cherry tree. The cherry tree is beginning to shed some of its pinkish blossoms, and they're kind of falling around. It's pretty magical. And so you're just sitting there, just enjoying the sounds, the movement of the insects and the birds, the warmth, just together, just resting in that field of mutual care. And you glance out and coming up the valley, oh my gosh, somebody else. So you grab your clippers and you start making another bouquet. It's an almost endless amount of flowers. So you go and you stand by the gate and this is very interesting. This is really hard to believe. It's an ancestor, a departed ancestor has shown up. Well, okay. I'm in a garden that blooms all the flowers in the same season. Anything's possible. So you have this bouquet and you're a little bit in shock, but the joy to see this being again. You open the gate and offer the flowers, and they smile and they look right in your eyes, and then you embrace. And you kind of gently pull them into your garden and then walk the lanes holding their hand or arm in arm, enjoying the flowers just like before. Your wakefulness is kind of moving from your internal experience to feeling the field that is around you with this ancestor. And so you bring them and invite them to sit also with your dear friend, your loved one. And so the three of you sit. And without speaking, all three kind of bathing in the warmth of the connection, the friendliness, the care, looking at each other. And yes, you glance and there's somebody else. And you can't imagine now what's going on. But you're prepared. You have your clippers and you cut some more flowers. Each bouquet a little different, but all beautiful. And this is a little person coming up. So you looking, kind of squinting. The sun's kind of at an angle where you have to squint a little bit. This person's kind of moving, they're skipping a little bit. And so they get close to the gate and you open the gate and you look and, oh my gosh, it's you. Age 5, 6, somewhere there. So flabbergasted you are as you drop to your knees. Offer the flowers. Hear this little child shriek with joy. It grabs the flowers and jumps into your arms. You feel the warmth of the child, the beating heart. And you almost don't want to move. Your heart is flooding over. And so you then come to your feet and the child takes your hand and lo and behold, you haven't forgotten how to skip. So you skip up and down the rows with the child stopping, holding out their hand as steady as they can, hoping for the butterfly to land on it, and it does. Getting all squealy and giggly with that. Child pointing out the bees. Just delighted with the flowers and the insects. Your heart overflowing. Your mind swimming and trying to make sense of this. But your heart is sure. And so you bring the child to the blanket, and everybody's beaming. The child nestles down, somehow knows that the ancestor is there, and the child sits in the ancestor's lap. And you just feel the field that's created. It's safe. Experiencing directly the movements of hearts together, caring. And the child then gets up and comes and sits in your lap. And feel that connection like no other. You sense the challenges, the troubles that that child will have to endure. You also sense that there's room enough for joy. The joys that will come to that child. The growth, the learning, the awe. And so the four of you just sit. And the care and warmth extends to all the creatures in the garden and in the forest nearby. The sensitivity of all the creatures. And so all the beings rest in that sphere of care and unconditional acceptance, safety. And as the sun is beginning to go down in the late afternoon. You seem to all know that it's time to go without speaking, and you stand up and there's hugs, one, then the other, and finally the hug to the child that's you. And you walk, open the gate, and you stand and watch them descend the valley on the path together. As you take the other path back into the woods, and your heart is full. You know that that love and those loved ones are available. Your senses remain alive. You're enjoying the angle of light in the late afternoon as it streams through areas of the forest, creating a whole different hue of the landscape. And so may all beings experience a garden in their heart. May all beings be well. May all beings be peaceful and at ease. May all beings be happy and know the true causes of happiness. And may all beings be free.